in 1966.
A small minority of beatniks, radicals, and filthy speech advocates have brought shame on a great university.
That's next time on Here and Now.
Today at 1 here on WJCT News 89.9. This is WJCT News 89.9 in Jacksonville. Ahead in the next 5 minutes, live local news for the First Coast from the WJCT News team.
Good morning, I'm Ann Schindler, and on today's First Coast Connect, a group devoted to uniting communities through civil discourse honors local humanitarians. Then, milk safety and Ozempic babies. Our own Dr. Joe Servin discusses the latest medical headlines and takes your house calls. Plus, WJCT's upcoming Be My Neighbor Day aims to teach young and old about the importance of kindness. You can join our conversation on air by giving us a call at 904-549-2937. You can also email us at firstcoastconnect@wjct.org or reach out via Facebook, Instagram, or X. It's all ahead this hour after the day's news.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Windsor Johnston. The criminal hush money trial of former President Donald Trump resumes in New York City at this hour. NPR's Jimena Bustillo reports the jury has so far heard testimony from 9 witnesses, including a former tabloid publisher and Trump's former campaign secretary.
Adult film star Stormy Daniels, former Playboy model Karen McDougal, and former Trump lawyer Michael Cohen are all expected to be witnesses brought up by the prosecution, though it's not known for sure when. Prosecutors need to lay out the case that not only was Trump involved, but that he falsified business records of the payments. Trump, who has pleaded not guilty, could still testify, but only in his defense, so the prosecution won't call him up. Weeks ago, he told reporters that he would testify. That might change since prosecutors won the right to ask Trump about his past trials in New York if he does. Speaking with reporters outside the courtroom last week, Trump said that a gag order would not stop him from testifying, though he hasn't confirmed if he still plans to. Jimena Bustillo, NPR News, New York.
French President Emmanuel Macron is hosting Chinese President Xi Jinping for talks in Paris this week. NPR's Eleanor Beardsley reports Xi is getting the red carpet treatment for his first visit to Europe in 5 years.
France and China will mark 60 years of bilateral relations before moving on to current topics. China is flooding the EU with subsidized electric cars and solar panels, and the EU is not happy. But Europe is not competing with China for first place like the U.S. is, says Sylvie Berman, former French ambassador to Beijing.
We don't have exactly the same interests, and that's the reason why we think we can have different relationships. China is the first trading partner of the EU.
And she says the EU also wants to keep a dialogue with China on global issues like climate change and biodiversity. Macron will also pressure Xi to use his influence to bring an end to the war in Ukraine. Eleanor Beardsley, NPR News, Paris.
Gene editing can fix a defective gene inside the eyes of people born with a rare form of inherited blindness and partially restore their vision. NPR's Rob Stein has more on a new report out today in the New England Journal of Medicine.
Scientists use the gene editing technique known as CRISPR to edit a defective gene inside the eyes of people born with Leber congenital amaurosis. The rare inherited genetic disease causes people to slowly lose their vision. Researchers edited the defective gene in the retinas of 14 patients. None obtained normal vision, but 11 regained some sight, enabling them to do things like find their phones and watch TV. Rob Stein, NPR News.
This is NPR.
Good morning. It's 4 minutes after 9 o'clock. I'm Michelle Coram. This is WJCT News 89.9 Jacksonville. 3 days of protests on the University of North Florida campus in support of Palestine ended Thursday night with the arrests of 16 protesters, 9 of them students, for trespassing UNF defended the decision to have the protesters arrested, saying though it respects the right for all to protest, it needs to enforce reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions. Students for a Democratic Society is calling on State Attorney Melissa Nelson to drop the charges against the protesters. University of Florida President Ben Sasse says the university has no plans to divest money from companies supporting Israel. Sasse spoke on CNN yesterday when asked if he would be open to other demands from protesters, including creating a student panel to give feedback on the investments. The answer was also no.
We just don't negotiate with people who scream the loudest. It just doesn't make any sense to me. We believe in the right of free speech. We believe in the right of free assembly, and you can try to persuade people. But what you see happening on so many campuses across the country is instead of drawing the line at speech and action, a lot of universities bizarrely give the most attention and most voice to the smallest, angriest group. And it's just not what we're going to do here.
9 people were arrested last week during protests at the University of Florida. 6 of them identified themselves as students. Temperatures are in the mid-70s now, upper 80s this afternoon.
Support for NPR comes from C3 AI. C3 Generative AI works to enable rapid access to traceable, hallucination-free insights from enterprise systems using any LLM, helping turn the invisible into the obvious. C3.ai. This is NPR.
Support for First Coast Connect is provided in part by Baptist Health.
Good morning. I'm Ann Schindler, and this is First Coast Connect. Today, a local group dedicated to civility, understanding, and respect honors a local activist for her work on community justice. Later in the program, what you need to know about dairy cows with bird flu and how Ozempic may impact fertility. Dr. Joe Servin makes his monthly house call. But first, it sounds like something of an outlier these days, a group devoted to pulling communities together through civil discourse. One Jacks traces its origins back 54 years, and this week, One Jacks presents its annual Humanitarian Awards. To discuss that, we'll be joined in a moment by One Jacks CEO, Elizabeth Anderson. And here I'm joined by Rihanna Seister, who will be honored as a humanitarian with the Acosta Rua Young Professional Award. Good morning, Rihanna.
Good morning.
Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
So, first of all, congratulations. Last year you actually emceed this award for One Jacks, and this year you are the recipient. Tell us a little bit about the turnaround there.
It was quite the turnaround from here's the awards to I'm getting an award. But it's been a lot of fun and a good adventure to stay involved with the One Jacks family and all that they're doing.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. You're originally from St. Pete.
Yeah.
But you've been here.
Yep, I've been here since 2012. Started off at JU, but graduated from UNF and then went back to JU for my master's. So a little bit of back and forth, but I feel really deeply rooted here in Jacks. Over 10 years is a long time to kind of make your mark. So just having the network and the family that I have here has been the best.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
And so you've gone to school here, but you've also taught school here. You have kind of an education background.
Yeah, education is certainly the foundation for a lot of what I do. And that's kind of what drove me into becoming a teacher of students with disabilities. I taught for 4 years at the middle school level, so that was always a lot of fun.
That's an interesting task.
Certainly felt like reaching back to being the teacher that my teachers were for me, and providing my students with the care that that they deserve.
And so you initially worked with